Good evening. We're going to call to order tonight's Marion Common Council meeting. Today's date is November 19th, 2024, 7 p.m. in Marion City Hall. I welcome everybody that's here. And we're going to go ahead and go right into today's prayer. And today we have Pastor Tom Mansbarger from Grace Community Church. Pastor, if you want to make your way to the mic, make sure you hit the red button and share your prayer. Thank you.
Let's pray together. Father, thank you for this privilege, and thank you for these men and women around this table. And I just pray tonight that you'll help us as a community, help us to be strong. I pray for good leadership, that we would do the things that are best for the people of this community. And Lord, we would bring back that Marion pride that we've always experienced. Bless us now, and may we see good things happen. Keep your hand upon us. We thank you in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you. And to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, Councilwoman Erica Devine.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you again, Pastor Mansbarger, for coming tonight. You're welcome to stay. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your evening for us, so thank you again. All right, we're going to go into roll call. So, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Fordyce.
Here.
Brunner.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Devine.
Here.
Witten. Cowgill.
Here.
McKinley.
Here. All right, thank you. And so we're going to go into tonight's community spotlight. And let me get this graphic pulled up here first. And tonight's community spotlight is Megan Strout, and she is the new owner, or the owner of the new counseling place here in town. Megan, why don't you come up front here, and you could stand on either side. And so Megan, you can come on over here if you'd like. Megan just recently opened one of Marion's newest counseling centers. Used to be a chiropractic place, right?
Right.
What was the Arnold Chiropractic? Yep. So if you know where Arnold Chiropractic was, what's the address there?
1331 West 35th Street, right behind Tractor Supply and Lodge Optical.
Yes. So I've been inside. It's beautiful in there, renovated. They've invested time, money, and resources into that building. It looks phenomenal. And not only have they invested into that building, but I really appreciate them investing in our people. And as we know, I don't think you could ever have enough counseling services and enough resources for our community, just for everyday counseling, let alone addictions counseling. So we just really appreciate Megan investing in Marion and opening a wonderful counseling service available to all of our residents in our Grant County. And then, of course, the mission, I just wanted to read that, is empowering the lives we touch by healing hearts and nurturing resilience to build a community where mental wellness thrives. So I think that was nailed it right on the head. So, Megan, I just want to give you the floor if you want to share anything and maybe future plans you have, maybe with the counseling service.
Sure, yes. Well, thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate the invitation. We started with 3 therapists. I just hired my 10th therapist and have 2 more identified that I will be making offers to probably this week, and have 3 interns coming in January as well, and then 1 psych nurse practitioner that I will be her preceptor in January. So we have big goals and big plans. Everything from possibly, offering meds in the future. We right now have 1 school contract. We intend to build upon that to grow our school contracts. Right now, in the last 2 months, we have served 75 students within the Mississinawa School Corporation. Within traditional, just gaining clients to to get 75 clients in 2 months is a little difficult to do, but within our school contracts, we are just really growing, and we're not only able to serve the students, but their families as well. We are, just the growth that we have seen has been incredible. I thought that we have 8 offices in our building, and I thought we might have 8 people in it maybe by, a year from when we opened, so next July. My goal is 20 employees by next October. So we're dreaming big, and I think we're gonna get there. We have big goals as far as the way we can support our local industry, critical incident support. So that's something that I do as a contractor. Last week I was over in Lafayette at a factory. There was a person who lost their life in a factory, and I went in and did critical incident support for the team after that person was tragically killed. And so I went in. That's something that I'm training my team to do, and we'll be offering here in Grant County. So we're excited to be able to offer that we have so much industry here that people get injured on the job or are tragically killed on the job, and we can come in as a local resource within 24 to 48 hours and meet that need. Just, perinatal support, the family support. We don't do addiction support. We think that there are people who are really, really great at doing that here locally, and so we make those referrals. Domestic violence is something we can do, but Hands of Hope is really crushing that, and so we let them handle that. I'm trying to think, there's other service providers that we collaborate with and work well with, but for now, we're doing as much as we can do, being a private practice here in Marion, and seeing as many clients as we can see within a week, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you
we're
so
working as hard
much.
as we can.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just the rapid growth you've already had just shows the need we have in our community. So we just appreciate you investing your own time, money, and resources and expertise. So thank you again, Megan, for investing in Marion. So yeah, I would like to get a quick photo, if that's okay. So if our unofficial photographer, Marty, if the rest of the council wants to come up.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your.
Congratulations. You did all those.
We did.
He's not doing that anymore.
No, he's back over in
Yeah. Can you sell them?
Well, he took them all with him.
Oh, he took them with him?
Yes, we did a lot of painting.
Appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much.
You want to move some up there?
Yes.
That'd be fine too. Thank you, Megan, so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, part of the reason I wanted to spotlight is just so people know there are other resources in town and a new resource. So, I encourage anyone that, especially going into this time of year, I think it's appropriate to spotlight this. A lot of people have struggles and a hard time going into this time of year. So if you're listening, watching online or in here and you just need someone to talk to, stop by Megan's counseling. So thank you so much. And moving on into the city employee spotlight. Oh, there she is. Just making sure you didn't hide on me. One moment here. Let me swap this out. Okay, so tonight's city spotlight is somebody that doesn't like to be in the spotlight, which is the perfect candidate for a city employee spotlight. Come on up, Linda. You come up here. So, you can read the screen. It just says she began her career in the mayor's office and really has been with the city for 18 years and served in the controller's office the last 15 years. But Linda truly, if you talk to anybody in City Hall, is somebody that doesn't look for credit, but really has been an engine driving this city for years across different administrations. I was just at the city's Thanksgiving luncheon today and talking with our controller, Dana Galt, and she was just commenting on how much of an asset Linda was when Dana took over the controller position, and really is just kind of an engine behind the scene. And I had reached out to her before I put her on the agenda. I didn't hear back from her in time, so she ended up on the agenda anyways. So I'm going to share this, Linda. I have to. That when I kind of asked, is that okay? And she said, well, I'd rather not. I like to just be behind the scenes. I'm like, it's too late. You're on the agenda. It's already been released. And but that just goes to show she just really is here for the right reasons. And she does a phenomenal job. I will say, just in my role as a council member and council president, she has been a very, very huge asset and just providing information from years past to current. And so we just really appreciate you, Linda. I know all the council members do. And everybody in the audience here that's part of the administration just appreciates everything you've done. So, yeah, thank you so much. And would you like to share any words?
Sure. Thank you, President McKinley and the council, for recognizing me. Mayor Siebel, that hired me back in 2006, thank him for giving me the opportunity to be able to serve the city as well as the controllers, some blasts from the past, Cindy Wright, to Kay Wildoner, to Julie Flores, and now Dana Galt. Thank you for investing in me and nurturing me along the way. I truly appreciate that. I don't take this opportunity for granted. I'm grateful every day to be able to serve not only just the citizens of Marion, but all of our employees, current employees and previous employees. I truly thank you all. So.
Yeah, well, thank you, Linda. Don't go anywhere yet. You also, what you don't see is that she puts in countless hours, works overtime. I mean, there's many times we're in a council meeting, she's up in her office watching it online, doing her work. And, the joke is we really like you because you run payroll around here too. She gets everyone paid.
Oh, yeah,
So,
sure,
yeah, everyone, she's the favorite. Yeah, she gets everyone paid. So thank you so much. We definitely want to get a photo if everyone wants to come back up again.
Also, I know from being with the city for so many years, whenever there's a question that nobody knows, everybody says, go to Linda. Ask Linda.
All right, ready, 1, 2, 3.
Awesome, thank you so much. Linda, thank you, Linda. Linda, appreciate you. Thank you for information check down here. She's like, get me out of here right now. Thank you so much. I know these add a little bit of time to the meeting. I recognize that, but I just think it's so important that we do this. So thank you, council members, for allowing this. So, yeah, we're going to move on and into the consent agenda for the approval of minutes, consideration of pre-approved claims, and consideration of claims. So I would entertain a motion.
I so move.
I got a motion by Councilman Kane, a second by Vice President Cowgill. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Fordyce.
Aye.
Brunner.
Aye.
Klein. Devine.
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. And moving into committee reports. Do we have any committee reports?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
the Rules Committee did meet tonight at 6 p.m. to discuss General Ordinance Number 26, 2024, which addresses the upcoming election of officers for the City Council. And we will address that further down in the agenda. So that's all I'll say at this point. I'll keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Kane. Any other committee reports? I look at you, yeah. Councilwoman Devine, go ahead.
Okay. The utility board met last week. They introduced and welcomed Chad Geyer, the new assistant director. They also did a moment of silence for Mr. Dorsey, who had passed as one of their board members. Then they gave updates on the projects that are ongoing, the SRF projects. The distribution system that they were doing is complete. I believe that was down on western area. As far as the lead service lines, they're about halfway through the completion, and that will continue through into the spring. I know they've also sent out new questionnaires to different areas about lead service lines as they keep working their way through the whole system. As far as meter replacement goes, they're at about 2,500 meters. They said that pace should start picking up now, now that they're off of some other projects and can free up into there. The water tank, the one on Butler is pretty well complete except for the fence. For Meridian, the interior is about done. They're trying to get to the point of having the primer done on the exterior before it gets too cold to be able to paint. But that way it'll hold what they've done until they can do the final paint next spring after the winter. They also talked about the request that they had for vacating part of Clark Street because they have another tank proposal. They're gonna build another tank down in that area, which will be somewhere between 1 to 2 million gallons to help with more of the service area. Let's see. They also talked about paying out some of the projects. They are partnering with Grant County Learning Center in order to have an internship with high schools, and they're also going to help assist with a home build project to be one of the local, I can't remember which one, does the class where they actually build a house from the ground up. And so the class got to the point where the only thing left is the hookup through the water lines into the system, and that became cost prohibitive for them. So the utility services is going to assist with that, look for volunteers within the water distribution system to come out and help them do the hookups and partner with the high school group to do that. I thought that was a great project, so that they can get that house complete and sold. They're reviewing requests on water adjustments. They gave some information about the number of tons through the transfer station this last month, which was 969. They talked about the number of disconnects and reconnections. And they are working on the 2025 budget and looking to hopefully have that passed by the first meeting in December. And then they also talked about changes to their health insurance plans, so they've also had to make some adjustments like the city did, which is not unexpected. So that's the Utilities Board. Board of Works met yesterday. They did the swearing in of 2 firefighters to go from probationary to private after their completion of 1 year. And then they had a number of homes that they talked about for the demolition orders. Those were all approved. They did stay one of them that the project has had some forward motion from the owner. They have started working on it, and so they've allowed another 60 days to see if that progress continues to get it back up and back safe. And that was it. All done.
Great, thank you so much. I always appreciate the thoroughness. So, any other council members with committee reports?
I do,
Yes,
if I may.
go ahead.
Thank you. The Board of Aviation Commissioners met November 7th. Design works ahead of schedule for the extension of Taxiway B. Part of that extension is going to go through some wetlands, so they're now talking with the Army Corps of Engineers. That work and the rest of the planning ought to be done, and construction started in about a year. The electronics have been ordered for the new approach path lighting for the runways, and work on that ought to be done in the spring. Plans are to start installation work on the new fuel tanks in the spring. And paperwork, they're working on the paperwork to turn in so that our airport can maintain its regional airport status. Maintaining the regional status over just being rated as a local airport means about $100,000 a year in funding for the airport. And if you haven't been out to the ice cream shop out there, they have good ice cream.
Great, I appreciate the ice cream plug, Councilman Klein. Any other council members with the committee report? All right. We're going to go ahead and move into unfinished business. General Ordinance 19-2024, petition to vacate a portion of public right-of-way, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance to vacate a portion of South John Street from 3906 South John Street to East 41st Street, from Nebraska Street to South Boot Street in the city of Marion, Indiana. Indiana Wesleyan University would like to vacate a portion of a public way of South John Street from 41st Street to the south side of 3906 South John Street, and the vacation from 41st Street from Boot Street to Nebraska. Speaking, Attorney Phil Stevenson.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here again tonight. As already indicated to you, this is Indiana Wesleyan University's request to close a portion of John Street, which is from 3906 South John down to 41st Street, and a portion of 41st Street from Nebraska to South Boots. The purpose of that, as we've told you in the past, is to build a new arena, which we think will be a substantial benefit for Indiana Wesleyan University and also a substantial benefit for the community. So I think we've answered questions before, but if anyone has any additional questions they'd like to ask, we certainly would be more than happy to try to respond. Or if there's any people in the audience who may speak tonight, we would obviously be more than happy to respond to any of those issues which may be raised.
Great, thank you so much, Phil, appreciate it. I will just quickly add, so Phil and I have had some communication over really the last week. Just for the other council members to give you up-to-date information here. So on the council packet you received, it showed the response from some of the entities like the fire department and all that. There were two of them that we still haven't received, and that was, or at least I didn't get it, was from Indiana Michigan Power, AEP, and also CenterPoint, formerly Vectren. So I reached out to the government liaisons at both of those organizations last week and just wanted to get their blessing, make sure there was no issues. So I've been working with them, talking with Phil as well. Both entities, in fact, right before the meeting tonight, I had a call from the liaison from Indiana Michigan Power, AEP. Both entities have been communicating now with IWU to make sure that they don't have utilities that necessarily would be of concern if we were to vacate. I will say Indiana Michigan representative stated that they do have quite a bit of substantial underground wiring underneath the ground there. CenterPoint is still kind of checking into where things are located. So my request tonight, and we can have the public hearing, but my request is if this were to pass, we would take it to a third reading because that's actually by request from Indiana Michigan Power. They still have a few things they want to make sure that they're comfortable with, that if we were to vacate the road or the street, that they would still have access to the easement. Now, in the ordinance, it does state that the easements stay, but they want to make sure that they have access to those easements, and they just want to work out those details with the engineers and the firms that IW has been working with for the stadium. So just want to bring you up to speed on that. So yeah, if no other council members want to add anything at this time, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. public hearing is open, so if you'd like to make your way to the microphone, go ahead. I don't see anybody making their way to the microphone, so we will go ahead and close the public hearing. Any council members have anything they'd like to share or ask questions?
I'm a little confused because if you have an easement, then you have an easement. So to vacate it will not nullify the easements. Is that correct?
That is correct. I don't foresee any issues, and nor do they, but Centerpoint specifically, not Centerpoint, Indiana, Michigan specifically said, well, you have an easement, but you still have to access that easement, and you want to make sure you have rights to, with what they have. I mean, it's not like it's empty grass. I mean, they might have to get equipment in, and they want to make sure that there's something in place that states that they are able to access it through whoever's property it is. And I don't know the full legalities of that. That's not my expertise. I'm just relaying what the representatives from each of those entities, they don't foresee this being an issue. I don't foresee this being an issue long-term, but they would feel more comfortable if they can get back to us and say, yes, for sure, we are comfortable with you guys vacating the street before or after we have confirmed that this potentially wouldn't create any issues with their easements. So, yeah.
Did they provide any timeline as to when they would give you a response? Because it sounds like a lawyer just saying,
So the only one that gave me a timeline right before this meeting, so I haven't even had a chance to tell Phil this yet because it was right before the meeting, but Indiana, Michigan Power, they said typically these are about 6 weeks, but I did tell them, where we're at in this process. I said if it goes through a third reading, then that would be in, approximately 2-3 weeks. And I think basically what he said, I think he's going to try and speed that up by the time we got to that third reading, but he said worst case is if they're not quite ready, he would ask that at the third reading, we table that to the next meeting to give them a little more time to sort all of those details out. So again, this is more of a procedural thing, but I think it's the right thing to do, just to make sure our major utility companies are comfortable before we vacate any streets. And they actually really thanked me for reaching out from the council, and they've been working with IW, and I don't foresee any issues. They don't, but again, it's one of those things, they just want to be 100% sure and talk to the engineers. Oh, Councilman Fordyce.
Could I have Phil speak on that, please, with Indiana Wesleyan?
Absolutely.
I'm sure this has arisen before, Phil, on the gas company and the electric company, and I haven't foreseen any problems in the past from what I have known, but could you address it?
Well, the clerk's office sends out the notices to everybody, and I think they have them all back except for those two. I would say typically that's not surprising. The trouble is, the bigger the organization, the more difficult it is when they get this notice to get around to the right person and come back. So not having those back is not unusual, which is the reason that I put in the ordinance, as I always do, that the easements stay in place. The theory behind that is if, say, Centerpoint comes back at some point saying, oh no, we have a problem, we're not going to be able to build that building over the area unless we work with them to reroute whatever that line is. And if, I don't know, for some reason it's a problem that you can't reroute it, then you're going to have to change the building structure because that easement has to stay in place by your ordinance. So that's the reason for it's there. It's there to essentially ensure that there's protection, because sometimes it's difficult to get them to raise their head. I think they've done more than they normally would because your president's really done a lot to step out there and try to get a hold of them and try to get them to pay attention. So I think that's the situation.
Phil, would you have an issue with waiting for it to go to third reading?
We can obviously work with that. I mean, we came tonight prepared to request you to move to the third reading.
Okay.
But we can certainly handle that and deal with that and come back another time.
Okay, thank you.
Whatever the council prefers.
And just to give you a little extra info on this, so when I initially spoke to the gentleman at Indiana Michigan Power, it was over the phone. I could tell he was probably looking at maps. I was telling him where all this was going to take place. And at first he was like, yeah, that's probably not going to be an issue. You know, just some houses and some wiring. And then he reached back out to me, I think it was the next day, and he said, we actually have some pretty substantial stuff buried out right in that area. So I think if it was some just normal wiring and all that, I don't think it would have been as a big issue, but apparently there's some major stuff is what he says. I don't know what that means. That is right there where they're requesting to vacate and build that. And the other thing too is, and I really hope this wouldn't happen, but if the utilities come back and go, there's something major under here that, you know, we would request that the building wouldn't be built on top, or it's going to add a huge expense or whatever. There's all these situations that could come up. At that point, if we've already vacated the street, then how do we go back on that, right? So I think it's just, and not having that response back from the clerk's office, those requests, and I was like, okay, well then we should probably hear, and that's why I reached out to both of those government relations representatives. So, and I'd really just hope they were going to be like, yeah, it looks good, but like he said, they're a bigger bureaucracy. They have different departments that they're trying to coordinate, and then they're coordinating with the engineering firm that IW is working with right now as well to clear all that up. Can you turn the mic on?
I just have one more point. With us vacating the portion of the public right-of-way, just because we vacate it doesn't mean that, you know, we're going to interfere with those utilities. If the utility company has a problem with it, they won't be able to build the building, or they'll be able to change the building. So, I mean, I don't see, that's just in my personal opinion. I appreciate your due diligence, and I think we need the blessing of the utility companies, but just because we're vacating the street doesn't mean that they're going to dig tomorrow and without AEP's and the gas companies, you know, verification on the project. But I mean, I understand it, but.
No, I fully respect what you're saying, and I understand that as well. I mean, the firm that's going to build this building are experienced. They know how to work with the utilities companies. I'm just saying from our silo, I'm really just relaying, I'm being the messenger at this point. I'm relaying what's been told to me from those two entities and want to make sure everyone have that information. I, as just the council member, am comfortable passing this to a third reading, and then in hopes that by the third reading we have some final answers or some more comfort to go, hey, let's go ahead and be done with this on the third reading. But it's one of those situations where I feel like the one time maybe you don't, something could come up, and we wish we'd have done maybe a little more due diligence. And there's a reason they're on that checklist. And not getting anything back was like, we should probably check. So, any other council members? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I would make,
President?
well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary.
I would make a motion to pass General Ordinance 19-2024 to third reading.
I have a motion by Councilman Fordyce, second by Vice President Calgill. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Yes.
Brunner, Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. General Ordinance 19-2024 will move to a third reading at the next council meeting. I appreciate all the representatives from IW for being here tonight and ready to answer questions. But I think it's just checking the box, and then I think we'll be good to go. And then can't wait to see the new arena. And moving on to General Ordinance 20-2024, elected officials ordinance, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance prescribing the process for determining salary increases for Marion municipal elected officials and providing for the effective date thereof. This ordinance limits pay raises for Marion's 12 elected officials, mayor, city council, city clerk, and city court judge, to no more than the average raise given the city's full-time employees the previous year. The ordinance also allows for very limited exceptions to this in the cases of changes in city ordinances or state statutes, and it explains how the average of city employee raises is calculated. The goal is to maintain fiscal responsibility and to avoid large disparities with salary increases given to city employees. Speaking, Councilman Mike Klein.
Thank you. Thank you. I said it before, say it again, the ordinance is very simple. If Marion's elected officials get raises, and nothing against that, they're not going to be exorbitant and out of line with the raises that our city's regular full-time employees get. Some folks have mentioned that, well, we've never done this before. My short answer is, so what? There was a time we didn't have one-way streets or a dedicated truck